सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै। Let us chant the first 4 verses together. ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ चतुर्दशोऽध्यायः गुणत्रयविभागयोगः। श्रीभगवानुवाच परं भूयः प्रवक्ष्यामि ज्ञानानां ज्ञानमुत्तमं यज्ञात्वा मुनयः सर्वे परां सिद्धिमितो गताः इदं ज्ञानमुपाश्रित्य मागताः सर्गेऽपि नोपजायन्ते प्रलये न व्यथन्ति च मम योनिर्महद्ब्रह्म तस्मिन् गर्भं दधाम्यहं सम्भवः सर्वभूतानां ततो भवति भारत सर्वयोनिषु कौन्तेय मूर्तयः सम्भवन्ति याः तासां ब्रह्ममहद्योनिः अहं बीजप्रदः पिता। Yes. The first 2 verses in the 14th chapter, they are the verses which inspires the student to listen. So what does Bhagavan say in the first 2 verses? Bhuyah pravakshyami. Arjuna, I will tell this once again. Once again I will explain it to you. What? Jnananam param jnanam. Jnananam uttamam jnanam. I will give you this knowledge, jnanam. What kind of jnanam is it? Param jnanam, uttamam jnanam. What is this param? Param is with respect to the subject matter. It is the highest. It is the highest because this spiritual knowledge deals with the absolute truth. It deals with the ultimate reality. The truth which will remain relevant all the time, which can never become obsolete. Therefore it is param jnanam. With respect to a result, it is uttamam jnanam. The one who gains this knowledge, he comes to know his infinite, immortal, blissful nature. He comes to know his oneness with the divine. So Bhagavan says, once again I will tell you this. In a different way. The whole knowledge will be expounded to you. What will happen if we gain this knowledge? Yajñātva sarve munayah param siddhim itah gataha. Gaining this knowledge, all the great munis, all the great sincere seekers, all the people who have taken this knowledge seriously, given the highest priority to this knowledge, who have transformed their life based on this knowledge, all such people, what has happened to them? Param siddhim gataha. They have attained absolute supreme perfection. Second verse is a continuation of phalashruti. What will happen if you gain this knowledge? What will happen? Idam jnanam upashritya mama sadharmyam agataha. Those who gain this knowledge, they become one with me. They attain to my nature. So here my means what? It is not Devaki's son Krishna. Here when Bhagavan is saying Mama, it has to be understood as infinite Lord, not the individual. So who is this Lord? We will see later. So what happens when you gain this knowledge? Sarge pinopajayante pralaye na vyathanti cha. Such a person becomes free from this infinite, endless birth, death cycle. So this is the phalam. This is the glory of this knowledge. That is why this knowledge is called as uttamam jnanam. Now Bhagavan enters into the subject, topic. So yesterday we had chanted verse number 3 and 4. So before entering into these verses, let us just briefly revise the fundamentals of Vedanta. Last year also we had seen this, but there are very many new faces. So therefore we will just go through the entire thing. So how did we start last year? So very many are, you have already heard. I hope you have forgotten. Right? So therefore I will have to start afresh. So we had started with something called identification theory. You remember? No. Thank you. So what is this theory? When entity A identifies with entity B, the properties of B appear to be the properties of A. Do you vaguely remember something? Yeah. When entity A identifies with entity B, the properties of B appear to be the properties of A. So, in order to clarify this theory, I had used one example. What is that? What is that? I had given movie theater example, correct? This is the best example to make this theory clear. So what is this movie theater example? So this is the experience, yes. This is the experience we all have in the movie theater. So when we get absorbed in the movie, what happens to us? Our moods are not determined by our own family problems. Our moods are determined by the happenings in the movie, isn't it? So if there is a sad mood, my mood also becomes sad. Right? If there is a joyous mood in the film, I also become joyous. So whatever happens in the movie start affecting my mind. So suppose I identify with the characters in the movie. Say I identify with the hero. When the hero is sad, what is happening to me? I also become sad. When the hero is happy, I am happy. When the hero is worried, I am worried. Problems of the hero become my problems, isn't it? Right? What all the hero goes through, the same thing I also go through. Why did this happen? This happens because I have got identified with the character. Now, this is called identification. As though becoming one with that person. This is called identification. So, in the film theater, I am worried not about my problems. I am worried about the problems of an unreal character. Isn't it? The unreal problems become my problem. This is the experience in the movie theater. So, entity A means the person who is watching the movie. Entity B means, say, the hero of the movie. So, what happens when entity A identifies with entity B? The properties of B appear to be the properties of A. So, when I identify with the film character, the properties of the character, whatever he undergoes, the same thing, as though it is not real, as though it becomes my property. This is the example we had given. So, in the same way, in this world also there are two entities. What are the two entities? One is consciousness, the other is matter. Now, these are all the fundamentals of Vedanta. It should always be there with you. Any scripture can be analyzed based on this theory. Therefore, this theory becomes very important. So, in all the scriptures, we talk about two entities. What are the two entities? Consciousness and matter. Sometimes consciousness is called Brahman. Then matter has to be called Maya. Brahman, Maya. They go in pair. Sometimes consciousness is called Purusha, then matter will be called Prakriti. Sometimes consciousness is called Atma, then matter is called Anatma. In the previous chapter, 13th chapter, consciousness is called Kshetrajña, matter is called Kshetra. So, what is the name of the chapter? Kshetra, Kshetrajña Vibhaga Yoga. Names are different, but it's the same. Different names. Sometimes consciousness is called Drik, then matter will be called Drishya. Sometimes consciousness is called Chaitanya or Chetana, then matter is called Jada. So these are all different names, but it's the same thing. So these are the two things which you will find in all scriptures. One is consciousness, the other is matter. Now what is this matter? Anything that is made up of 5 elements is matter. What are the 5 elements? Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, Prithvi. Space, air, fire, water, earth. Anything that is made of these 5 elements, it is called matter. So whatever you see in this world, everything is matter. So from the world come to this body. What is this body? It is also matter. Why is it matter? It is matter because it is nourished by food. Food is nothing but matter. So body is also matter. What about mind? What about mind? Is it consciousness or matter? It is also matter. Thank you. Why is it matter? Why do we call mind as matter? What was the logic given? When you don't take food, you are not able to think. Isn't it? 1 day, 2 days, just fast. When you fast, what happens? The mind quietens down. It has no energy to create problems, to get agitated, to get worried. No energy is there. It remains quiet. So that means the mind gains its nourishment from food. Therefore, mind is also nothing but subtle matter alone. So the world, whatever we see, is matter. Body is matter. Mind is matter. Intellect is matter. There is one thing which is not matter. And what is that? That is consciousness. That is consciousness. And how did we define consciousness? So we had mentioned 15 terms. Remember? We had given 15 pointers to define this consciousness. These are the pointers we find in all the scriptures. So what are the pointers? We will just list it down. One is called, first one, Sat. Sat means what? Existence. Absolute existence. Independent existence. Infinite existence. Sat. Sat also means truth. So Sat means absolute truth. The second one, Chit. Chit means what? Consciousness, awareness. The third one, Ananda, bliss, peace, happiness. So Sat, Chit, Anand. Fourth one, Anantaha, infinite. Infinite. Then fifth one, Achalaha, that which is infinite cannot move. So that which doesn't move, Achalaha. Sixth one, Nitya. Nitya means eternal. Eternal. Then seventh one, Kutastha. That which remains unchanging substratum for all the changes to take place. The substratum which remaining changeless allows all the changes to take place. So Kuta means anvil. Stha means to remain. The one which is seated like an anvil. You know what is anvil? The blacksmith they use. They heat the iron red hot and they beat it to shape. So what do they use? They use the anvil. They keep the hot iron on the anvil and then beat it to shape. The anvil remains changeless, but the hot iron, it changes its shape. So in the same way, this consciousness is the one which is the substratum upon which the body, mind, intellect functions. The body changes, the mind changes, the intellect changes, but this consciousness remains unchanged. So, one name of this consciousness is Kutastha. So, how many terms over? Seven. So, eighth one is Agocharaha. What is the nature of this consciousness? It is Agocharaha. Means it cannot be known, it cannot be grasped with our sense organs. It cannot be seen, it cannot be heard, it cannot be felt, tasted, smelled. Agocharaha, the one which cannot be grasped by the sense organs. Then next one is Achintya, ninth one. Achintya, that one which cannot be grasped by your mind also, cannot be thought of. It is not some concept which you can think. So therefore, even the mind also fails to grasp it. Achintya. And then, 10th one, Anirdeshya. That one which cannot be described. Because to describe something, you must have properties. This is red in color. That is sweet in taste. Now these are all properties. Redness, sweetness, they are all properties. Now consciousness doesn't have any property. Therefore, we cannot describe it. Anirdeshya. 11th one, it is Aprameya. Aprameya means what? It cannot be known as an object. It cannot become an object of knowledge. Prama means knowledge. Prameya means object of knowledge. So aprameya means it cannot become an object of knowledge. Why? Because it is a very subject. And therefore the next term is Atma. What is this consciousness then? It is nothing but Atma. Atma means what? It is me. It is the I in each and every one of us. Atma. The next term is Sakshi. Sakshi means what? Witness. It is the one thing which experiences everything, knows everything, observes everything, but this itself cannot be observed. It cannot become an object of knowing, because it is the very subject. It is the I in each and every one of us, Atma. Then Sakshi. And the last two terms, Akarta and Abhokta. Akarta means it is a non-doer. Abhokta means it is non-enjoyer. So there are 15 terms which we find in the scriptures. Now what is this consciousness? This consciousness is our true nature. So what is our true nature? We are infinite. We are immortal. We are of the nature of infinite bliss. We are perfection absolute. We are none other than God Himself. But what is the mistake we have done, because of which we are not able to experience our infinite nature? We are not able to experience this infinite nature because we have done this blunder. What is that blunder? Identification. With what did we identify? We have identified with what we are not. And what is that which we are not? Body, mind, intellect. So I, the infinite consciousness, I, the pure consciousness, which is Satchit Ananda, when I identify with a finite body, mind, intellect, what will be my experience? Come back to the theory. When entity A identifies with B, the properties of B is the one which A experiences. So when I, the infinite consciousness, identify with the finite body, what will be my experience? I will no more experience the property of consciousness. I will start experiencing the properties of body. What is the property of body? Property of body is sixfold. Asti, Jayate, Vardhate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyate, Vinashyate. It exists in the womb of the mother. Then it is born. Then it grows. Then it matures. Then decays and dies. This is the general biography of every body. Right? So when I identify with this body, this is what I experience. What do I experience? I am born, I am growing, now I have become matured, now I am becoming old, I am decaying, now I am dying. Who is telling? The consciousness which is Sat Swarupa is telling this. Consciousness which is eternal, consciousness which is infinite, the very same consciousness, when it identifies with the body, it no longer experiences the perfection of consciousness, it experiences the imperfection of the body, mind, intellect. This is called as samsara. We are all suffering because of that. Are you able to understand? So what is the mistake we have made? The mistake we have made is we don't know who we are. We in our ignorance, we think that the body is me, the mind is me, the intellect is me. This identification is the root cause of all problems and sufferings in this world. Are you able to follow? So when I, the infinite consciousness, identify with the body, what do I say? I am thin, I am fat. I am tall, I am short. I am dark, I am fair. I am ugly, I am handsome. Now these are all the descriptions of what? Of the body. But now because of my identification, I feel the properties of the body, they are my property. When I identify with the mind, the mental fluctuations become my nature. I am sad, I am happy. I am emotional, I am sorrowful. Now all these are the modifications of the mind. But when I identify with the mind, those properties become as though my property. At the intellect level, I am intelligent, I am dull. Right? Now, what is the problem with identification? The problem with identification is you no longer experience your perfect, infinite nature. Just like in the film theater, that person is crying in the film theater. Why? The hero is miserable, therefore I am crying. Hero's problems have nothing to do with the person who is sitting in the theater. He has his own problems at home, but those problems are not worrying him in the theater. He is worried about the hero's problem, which is actually not his problem. In the same way, today we are all miserable because of the problems of the BMI, which is actually not our problem. So therefore, what is the solution for all problems in life? What is the solution? All problems started because of identification. So therefore, the solution should be disidentification. Yes, non-identification. Problem started with identification, therefore the solution should be disidentification. Can there be any other solution? There cannot be any other solution. If I am crying in the film theater, what is the cause? The cause is identification. Therefore the solution is disidentification. Not only film theater, there are very many situations where we cry. India-Pak cricket match. India-Pakistan cricket match. And this fellow is tensed and worried. Why is it? It is nothing but identification only. Some 11 unknown players are playing. Say 22 players are playing. Among them 11 players happen to be Indians. I consider myself to be an Indian, so we are one. So his victory is my victory. Now you started. Bas. Identification started. I am an Indian, they are Indians, therefore we are one. We are one. That feeling of we are one is nothing but once you are identified, you become a total slave of the external situations, external happening. Your mind will never be under your control. The external happenings will decide your state of mind. If India is winning, you will be very happy. If India is losing, you will be miserable. You have no choice. The moment you identify, that very same moment, you no longer remain a master, you become a slave. Right? Identification can be with respect to the body, with respect to the family, with respect to the caste, creed, state, religion, language, nationality. It can be anything. But one thing is for sure, the moment you identify, you are going to be miserable. All problems started with identification, therefore the solution is disidentification. This is what the scriptures say. Now in this chapter we will find how this disidentification can be efficiently conducted. Identification is done with what? What is that factor which identifies? It is nothing but the mind, isn't it? What is that which binds things together? It is the mind. Identification happens through the mind, so disidentification has to happen through the mind alone. Mind is the one which has identified. The very same mind should be the one which should be disidentified. Now, in order to disidentify the mind from the BMI, you must know what is mind. You must know what is the nature of the mind. Correct? You must have a thorough understanding about the mind, because it is the mind which you are going to make use in disidentification. So this chapter we are going to study the nature of the mind, because If you want to do this disidentification, you must have a thorough understanding about the workings of the mind. You must have a thorough understanding about the nature of the mind. This is what now Bhagavan is going to do. The summary of what it is going to follow is, if the mind is rajasic and tamasic, disidentification is impossible. If you want to efficiently disidentify, the mind has to be in sattva, sattvic. The mind will have three moods, tamasic, rajasic and sattvic. As long as the mind is in tamasic or rajasic state, disidentification is difficult. So what we have to do? Make the mind sattvic and then drop the mind. Purify the mind, drop the mind. Drop the mind or disidentify from the BMI. Both are same. This is the, what you call, the essence of this chapter. But if you want to make the mind sattvic, you must know what is a sattvic mind. You must know what is a rajasic and tamasic mind. So you must know the moods of the mind. So the entire chapter is dedicated in trying to introduce ourselves to the various moods of the mind so that we can be alert. This is the purpose of this chapter. Now let us come to verse number 3 and 4. With this fundamental, what you call, background, now this things will be easy to understand. Now what is being said here? Now here in 3rd and 4th, these two principles, what are the two principles? Consciousness and matter. These two principles are given, they are explained using a metaphor. The consciousness principle is taken as father principle and matter is taken as mother principle. So what Bhagavan is telling is, the whole world has come out because of the combination of consciousness and matter, just like children come out of father and mother. When father and mother come together, children are born. In the same way, when consciousness and matter come together, the whole creation is born. This is the essence. Let us see verse number 3. What is said here? Mama yonihi mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadhami aham. So here when Bhagavan says aham, who is this aham? It is nothing but consciousness principle. So here Bhagavan considers himself as consciousness principle, the father principle. So what does he say? Mahad Brahma mama yonihi. Mahad Brahma means Prakriti. Mahad Brahma means matter or Maya, the matter principle. So this is my yoni. Yoni actually means womb. So here the meaning can be taken as wife. She is my wife. So consciousness is telling, this Prakriti is my wife. And then tasmin garbham dadhamyaham. I place my seed into her, in her. And then what happens? Sambhavah sarvabhutanam tato bhavati bharata. In this way, from this union of the male principle and the female principle, sarvabhutanam sambhava bhavati. All the beings are born. Sarvayonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiyaha. What all? Murtayaha. Murti means form, structure, the species. Whatever you see in this world, sarvayonishu, whatever is born from all the wombs, in whatever womb it may be, whatever is born, tasam brahma mahad yonihi. For that, for all the beings in this world, mahad brahma is the yoni. Mahad Brahma is the mother principle. Aham bija pradav pita. I am the seed giving father. Right? This is the essence. For all the beings that you see in this world, they come out of these two principles. What are the principles? The consciousness principle and the matter principle. Both are necessary. Just like if a child has to be born, father principle is also necessary, mother principle is also necessary. Father alone cannot produce the child, mother alone cannot produce the child. Both have to come together. In the same way, all beings come into existence because of these two factors. What are the two factors? Consciousness and matter. Whether it is animals, insects, birds, plants, you will find these two in them. One is consciousness, the other is matter. So, when we study these scriptures, actually we are studying about ourselves. Who are we? What are the constituents present in us? So, what all are the constituents present in us? One is consciousness, which is our true nature. The other is matter. Our body, mind, intellect, everything falls under matter category. The consciousness in us, the I principle, the aham principle, it is consciousness principle. In this world, whenever we have to deal with a particular object, we should know the properties of that object, isn't it? Suppose there is a cotton merchant. He deals with cotton. So he must know the properties of cotton. What is the property of cotton? It should not be kept near water, fire, etc. The property should be known. Then you will be able to efficiently handle that object. Whether it is cotton or wood or iron or whatever, gold or diamond. But what is the one thing which you are dealing all the time? In this world, the one thing which you are dealing all the time is you yourself. Isn't it? So therefore, if we have to intelligently, if we have to keep the right contact with the world, we must have right understanding about ourselves. Scriptures give that right understanding. Now, the next verse is very important. What is the next verse? It tells us how we get bound. Sattvam rajastama iti gunav prakriti sambhavaha nibadhnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam Sattvam rajastama iti gunav prakriti sambhavaha nibadhnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Yes. Now who is this dehi? The possessor of deha, the body, is called dehi. Now what does Bhagavan say? This dehinam which is avyayam, imperishable, eternal, immortal, this dehi, gunaha nibadhnanti. These gunas, they bind. What are the gunas? Sattva, rajas, tamas, which is nothing but prakriti, prakriti sambhavaha. Prakriti sambhavaha gunaha avyayam dehinam nibadhnanti. It binds. The gunas of the prakriti binds the dehi who is actually imperishable, immortal. So who is this dehi? None other than consciousness. Right? Consciousness which is avyayam. So avyayam is only one term describing the consciousness. So this dehi, the one who is possessing the body, the possessor of the body, which is none other than consciousness, this possessor of the body is being bound, nibadhnanti. Bound by whom? Bound by the Prakriti, which is nothing but gunas. And which are the gunas? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Now what is this bondage? It is not physical bondage. What kind of bondage is it? It is the bondage born out of identification. Right? This bondage is born out of identity. What is this bondage? The bondage is a feeling which we have, the feeling that I am nothing but this body. This is called bondage. Actually, who am I? Satchit Ananda Swarupa, the absolute infinite consciousness. But now what do I think? It is infinite, but now I think it is inside the body. It is trapped in the body. This is called bondage. So what kind of bondage is it? It is not physical, it is psychological bondage. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Mind alone is the cause of bandhana and moksha. So this bondage is a psychological bondage. Psychological bondage means what? Bondage where mind is involved. So now what is Bhagavan trying to say? This mind, from where has it come from? Mind is nothing but matter. Matter is nothing but sattva, rajas, tamas. Therefore, mind also is made of sattva, rajas, tamas. Suppose we have a gold. 90% gold, 10% some other alloy. Maybe say copper or something. Suppose we have a material, 90% gold, 10% copper. So if you make something out of that material, what will be the proportion in that material? So you make a, say, bangle or something. What will the proportion of that bangle? It will be 90 and 10%, isn't it? If you make, so suppose you have mud. With mud, if you make a cup or a pot, what will be the pot? What will be the constituent of the pot? It will be mud. So whatever is there in the cause, the same thing comes in the effect also. The children will have the properties of mother and father. The genetical properties will be passed on. The child which is born out of a particular father and mother, the child will have those characteristics. Isn't it? In the same way, what is Bhagavan trying to say here? Identification is at the mind level. So therefore we have to study the mind. Let us find out from where the mind has come from. Mind has come from matter. Matter is nothing but the three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. Therefore, the mind also will have sattva, rajas and tamas. This is the logic. Now what are these gunas? So these three gunas will be there in every mind, because the mind is formed out of these gunas. Now what are the behavior patterns of a mind which is having these three gunas? So now the topic we will have 5 subtopics. What are the subtopics? Number 1, Lakshana. Lakshana means characteristics. What is the characteristic of a mind which is sattvic? What is the characteristic of a mind which is rajasic? What is the characteristic of a mind which is tamasic? Number 1, Lakshana, characteristics. The second one, Bandhana Prakaraha. How does it bind? The whole topic is about bondage. So we should know how the mind in a particular mood, whether sattva, rajas or tamas, mind in a particular mood, how does it bind us? How does it restrict our freedom? Bandhana Prakaraha. Right? The next one is Lingam. Indication. How will I know which particular guna is predominant in me at a particular time? How will I know whether my mind is sattvic, rajasic or tamasic? Linga means indication. The fourth topic is phalam. In a particular mood, when I do something, what will be the end result of that action? Phalam. When the mind is sattvic, when I perform action, what will be the end result of that action? When my mind is rajasic or tamasic, in that mood when I perform an action, what will be the end result? This is called as phalam. Fourth topic. The fifth one is gatihi. Gati means movement. After death, marananantara gatihi. At the time of death, when a particular mood predominates, at that time when I die, where will I go? The future course. So these are the topics which we are going to see. What are they? Lakshanaha, bandhana prakaraha, lingam, phalam, gatihi. Right? Why are we undertaking this deep study? We are undertaking it because the cause of bondage is identification. Identification is done through mind. Therefore, we must undertake a thorough study about our own mind. Now, since the mind has come from Prakriti, matter, and since this Prakriti is nothing but Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, therefore, the mind also will have Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Whole purpose of study is to analyze our own mind and to find out how this disidentification can be done easily. Is there a method? Is there a technique? Right. So after this much, now Bhagavan takes up these topics, these 5 topics, step by step. So in 6, 7 and 8, 6, 7, 8, you will find these 2 topics covered. What are they? Lakshana and Bandhana Prakara. The characteristics and how it binds. 6, 7, 8. Let us chant 6, only 6. It talks about Sattva. Tatra Sattvam Nirmalatvat Prakashakamanāmayam Sukha Sangena Badhnāti Jnana Sangena Chanagha Tatra Sattvam Nirmalatvat Prakashakamanāmayam Sukha Sangena Badhnāti Jnana Sangena Chanagha. Yes. Now here is a description of a sattvic mind. When the mind is in sattva, how does it behave? What are the characteristics? What are the properties? So how is it defined? Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat. Nirmala means what? Free from mala, free from impurities. Meaning pure. Prakashakam, that mind is bright, full of light. Anamayam. Amaya means disease. Anamaya means free of disease. Free of dis-ease, meaning free of agitation, free of disturbance. So nirmalatvat means pure, So that mind is in a very, very pure state. Prakashakam means bright, not dull. So when it is said Prakashakam, it means it has no taint of tamas. Tamas is always dark and dull. That we will see later. Anamayam is to represent that it is free from rajas. Rajas is characterized by agitation, disturbance, all that. So this is how the sattvic mind is described. What is its nature? It is pure. Pure means what? When the mind is in the sattvic state, you will find good thoughts, noble thoughts, selfless thoughts, effortlessly flowing through the mind. Divine thoughts are there. Pure. Remember, mind is nothing but flow of thoughts. So, when we say pure mind, what does it mean? A mind which entertains good thoughts. And what is the nature? It is prakashakam. Prakashakam means what? Prakasha means bright. Bright means what? Does it mean some light coming out of head, as we see in some photos, etc.? Enlightened people, one aura will be seen. Right? They are all just expressions. Here brightness means the intellect is so alert, so vigilant, as they say, present in the moment. No dullness, very alert. Normally we use this term. What a brilliant boy that is. Brilliant boy. Isn't it? This boy is very bright. Bright means what? He's able to grasp things faster. So whenever the mind is in sattva, you are able to grasp things. You are at your best. When you listen with an alert mind. You don't misunderstand things. You understand things as it is. When you listen with a sattvic mind, you are able to remember things. When you analyze with a sattvic mind, you are able to go deep into the subject. These are all the properties of a sattvic mind. Whenever you take decisions in life, when your mind is sattvic, your decisions will be perfect. Absolutely right. You will never repent for it later. You will only congratulate yourself for having taken that decision in that mood. These are all the sign of what you call a sattvic mind. Prakashakam. So if you want to learn something, study something, know something, what should you do? Ensure that the mind is sattvic. Suppose you want to cut a tree with an axe. What is the first thing you do? You don't directly get into the cutting process. What do? You sharpen it, isn't it? In the same way, the most important equipment for doing any spiritual sadhana, whether it is meditation, whether it is japa, whether it is study of the scriptures, whatever sadhana you may do, whether it is listening to the scriptures, attending satsang, the first thing is make the mind sattvic. To the extent your mind is sattvic, to that extent you will benefit from your spiritual pursuits. There's a meaning, prakashakam. And what is the kind of mind you experience? It is anamayam. You enjoy that state of mind. It is free from all kinds of agitation. It is free from all kinds of cravings. It is free from all kinds of desires. It is filled with peace. That's why it is called anamayam, free from amaya, disease. How can you define a healthy mind? How will you define a healthy body? Okay, start from there. How will you define a healthy body? Healthy body is the body which has no disease, isn't it? Means what? When can you say you are healthy? When you are not even feeling the presence of your body, you are healthy, isn't it? When you can totally forget your body, that means you are healthy. Suppose you have a headache, then the mind is fully occupied by the head only. It appears as though I am a head. Right? Suppose you have a sore throat. You feel as though you are throat alone. Suppose you have broken your hand. You feel as though you are hand alone. Your entire attention goes there because there is pain there. Anything which gives pain, it is always heavy. You cannot, you cannot be happy with it. At the bodily level, it is easy to appreciate. Whenever the body is in pain, you feel how you carry it. When the body is sick, you are uncomfortable with your own body, isn't it? But if the body is healthy, the body as though it is a light one. In the same way with the mind also. The mind which is totally disturbed, full of desires, full of anger, greed, jealousy. Such a mind is an unhealthy mind. And every time you feel that burning sensation in you, isn't it? A person who is full of anger, where is his attention? In that anger alone. It's burning. You cannot take your attention away from that burning sensation. But here, we are not talking of that. We are talking of a mind which is anamayam, peaceful. You enjoy that state of that mind. You enjoy the company of that mind. It is your best friend. That mind which is filled from disturbance, it is your best, rather worst enemy. So this mind which is sattvic, it is cheerful, it is peaceful, it is contented. You enjoy that state. When you go through this state, understand the mind is in sattvic state. These are the characteristics. So if at all any problem is bothering you in life, you have to take a decision. When should you take the decision? Take decision only when the mind is in sattvic state. Never take decisions in hurry-burry when the mind is either in tamas or rajas. These are the practical applications. All the time our mind may not be at peace. And you have to take a decision. So look within. Is your mind in sattvic state? If not, just postpone it. Okay, about this I will decide it tomorrow or later. Then next day morning, what you have to do? Through prayer, through japa, through surrender, do your spiritual practice. Because spiritual practices are meant to make the mind sattvic. Why should you meditate? Why should you do puja? Why should you pray? Why should you do japa? They are all meant for what? To make the mind sattvic. And when your mind is sattvic, you are at your best. And when you are at your best, important decisions must be taken at that time. If you take decisions when the mind is not in sattva, you will definitely repent. Because a mind which is rajasic or tamasic will surely mislead you. At that spur of the moment, you feel as though this alone is right, and you do it. And later on, you say, I don't know how I did it. Right? These are all the practical applications of this knowledge. When you have to speak something, when you have to respond to somebody is irritating you, and you feel like shouting. Wait, are we in sattvic state? Then only respond. Because otherwise you will repent. If you are in sattvic state, you will beautifully handle situations. If you are in sattvic state, even the breaking relationships, you will mend it. You will restore it to better health. But suppose you are not in sattva, even good relationships you will break. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakam anamayam. So when you are in sattva, you are at peace, and whoever comes to you, they also return with peace. Because only what you have, you can give. If you have a lot of disturbance, you will disturb everyone. If you are at peace, you will give peace to others. So the first and the foremost responsibility of any spiritual seeker, what is his responsibility? His responsibility is not to change the world, change the husband, change wife, change children, transform others. No. The first and foremost responsibility of a spiritual seeker is, let me change myself. Changing myself means what? Ensure that your mind is in the sattvic state. In the second chapter, Bhagavan says, Nitya sattvasto bhava. Ever remain in sattvic state. At least try your best. All the time you cannot remain, but with effort you can increase the percentage. Say after 24 hours, if you start putting forth more and more effort, slowly you can increase the percentage of time at which you remain in sattvic state. Let the peace remain throughout. This is one big responsibility of the spiritual seekers. One part of the mind should be looking within. In which state am I? What is going on in this mental factory? If some negative thoughts are there, replace it with positive so that the sattvic state of the mind is continued. It remains. What is the way in which we can ensure this sattvic state? The one best way is ensure that your thoughts are noble and good. If your thoughts are noble and good, you will always find mind is at peace. Mind is in sattva. The one thing which disturbs the sattvic state is your negative thinking, egoistic thinking, selfish thinking. When such thoughts pass through, that very same moment, the mind slips from the sattvic state. So you can just pay attention to what is going on in the mind. Then you can remain in sattvic state for a long time. Once it becomes a habit, effortlessly you remain in sattvic state. So what are the 5-point techniques to ensure that the mind is in sattva? These are the 5-point techniques. Observe, detect, eliminate, substitute, strengthen. Once again, first one, observe the mind. Pay attention to what is going on in the mind. What are the kind of thoughts you are entertaining? Knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, what is it that is going on in the mind? So this is the first step, observe. Then detect. Detect which are the situations where you are compelled to think negative. Which are the situations which are disturbing you, forcing you to become angry, forcing you to become jealous, forcing you to hate someone. Which are the situations, which are the people, which are the occasions where you become negative and bitter. That's called detect. Observe, detect. Then what? Eliminate. Now that you have detected, now the next thing is eliminate it. Eliminate those negative lines of thinking. How to eliminate? Next one. Substitute. Eliminate the wrong line of thinking, substitute with the positive line of thinking, right way of thinking. Eliminate, substitute. But that alone will not do. Strengthen. Again and again. Train the mind to think in the right way. Train the mind to think in the positive way. The training should go on. How long? Till it becomes effortless. Effortless means what? The situation comes and effortlessly you are responding in the positive way. To such an extent that your peace of mind is not disturbed. So before the situation, your mind is at peace. During the situation, your mind is at peace. After the situation also, the mind continues to remain in peace. Then you have grown out of the situation. You have learned the lesson, you have moved forward. But suppose you don't learn the lesson. What is the proof that you have not learned the lesson? Situation comes, before that you were peaceful, during the situation all the peace gone, after the situation the disturbance continues. What does it mean? It means you have not learned the lesson. And as long as you don't learn the lesson will keep coming to you. Choicelessly these lessons will come to you in different forms. In the form of your husband, in the form of your wife, your children, your neighbor, your relative, and you think this person is the problem. He is not the problem. There is a wound which is not healed, and somebody will come and poke the wound, and you are in pain, and you think that person is the problem. He is not the problem. You are the problem. As long as you have not trained the mind to respond to every situation positively, these situations will keep coming again and again. Right? So what is that state of realization? It is nothing but a state where you are at peace all the time, irrespective of the outer situation. That's all. That is called liberation. Liberation from all suffering, liberation from all pain. So these are the 5-pointed technique. What are they? Observe, detect, eliminate, substitute, strengthen. The first step is observing. You must know that something terrible is happening inside me. So this is how you maintain the sattvic state of the mind. And what is the benefit of maintaining the sattvic state of the mind? The benefit is you are at your best. You are the most efficient. When your mind is in sattva, your performance is at the best. These are the things which we should teach our children. Modern day students, what do? Just before exam. Suppose 10 o'clock is the exam, till 10 o'clock they are studying. Foolishness. What should be done? Those final 10-20 minutes, you should just relax. You should quieten the mind. Because a quiet mind is the most efficient mind. Because you are going to write exam with your mind is very, very important. When that mind is fresh, a fresh mind can recollect better, can think better, can decide better. So what should be done? No doubt you must study, no doubt. But those final moments should be used for sharpening the mind. And how do you sharpen the mind? By making the mind sattvic. How do you make the mind sattvic? By quietening the mind. Sit down for meditation. Take the name of the Lord and make it fresh. Suppose there is a person who has to run 100 meters, Olympic. Suppose 10 o'clock the competition starts. What should he do? Should he run? Up till 10 o'clock should he run? Practicing can be done. No doubt practice has to be done. But before the competition, what he should do? Relax the body. When you relax the body becomes fresh. With that fresh body, you can achieve better. In the same way with the mind also. This is true with every field. I have just taken the example of a student. But this is true in every field, in every profession. Make the mind sattvic, make the mind fit, and then apply the mind. Quieten the mind, and then apply the mind. This is the technique. More of it we will see tomorrow. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhave, asato ma sadgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.